My name is James Magara. I'm a dentist here in Kampala, Jubilee Dental. I qualified as a dentist in 1988. I was part of the first class of dentists from Magara University, the very first class of dentists trained locally in Uganda. And when I finished, I went back to teach at the university. And then in 1992, I went for further training at the University of Bristol in the UK, and really felt I should come back. It was a very difficult time for our country, and there were a lot of opportunities to work in Europe and work in other parts of the world. But I had this deep conviction that I needed to come back, and I did. I did come back, and it took a while for things to start. Our training did not train us for private practice. We were trained to work in government institutions. So even when I graduated, the idea of going into private practice was not very close to my thinking. But in those days, I was working at the university. The pay was very, very little. And so I decided to start something small on the side. When I was free, I would go and work in the clinic. It was really not meant to be any kind of big business enterprise. So it was just something to supplement what I was doing at the university. So I would work a few days a week, and in this country we are not allowed to advertise. So we could not advertise, and it had to be by word of mouth. But very slowly, 94, 2nd of May 94, that's when we started. Things began to pick up, and to a point where a few years later, I was under strain. I was finding pressure balancing my university work and the private work that I was doing. And I thought it was important that I continue serving at the university to help train more dentists. But at the same time, there were demands from the private side. So I took the first step in what has now become the bigger enterprise that Jubilee Dental is. I decided to hire a colleague to work with a colleague as an associate. And that sort of reduced the pressure, but the business continued to grow. So it was really growing without effort, if I may put it that way. And then towards the end of the 90s, it became clear that I needed to pay more attention to the business. And at that time, we also had to decide whether we were going to continue renting or to actually go ahead and purchase a building. It was a very interesting time, end of the 90s. And so towards the end of that time, beginning of the year 2000, I did some calculations and realized that if I continued doing what I was doing, within 7 to 8 years, I would have actually paid the rent. I mean, that would have bought the house of the place we were paying rent. So I then decided to seek for a building which we could get on mortgage. And that's how we got this facility here in a very, very beautiful place in Kololo. It's a very long story I can't go into. But about that time, I started paying more attention to the business and started thinking of leaving the university. But at the same time, I developed a model of employing, because I was working with students. I knew the ones that were good, that had a good attitude, but also knew from my own experience that it was very difficult for startups, for dental startups. The banks were not interested in financing businesses. When I went to the bank the first time, by the way, when I was starting the business, they were not interested because I had nothing. I had no securities. So I knew that many of the students who were coming out were facing those challenges. So I invited them. I invited some of them to join me. And slowly, working with 2, 3, 4, right now, Jubilee Dental Clinic has a total of 13 dentists working. And what we offered then was an environment which would give them an ability to practice more modern dentistry without having to bother or to worry about all the costs that come with it, with startups. And then what has happened over the time is that some of them have moved on and set up their own practices. Others have stayed to work for quite a number of years. This model, by the way, has been taken up by other groups now. So that's what we do now, and as the work grew, we also then realized, well, we can actually offer this on more than one location. Right now we have 4 different locations, where we practice, and we practice good quality dentistry. It's modern dentistry. with prices that, dentistry is expensive, but the prices that we charge are still within the range of a good range of our population. The other thing that we do once, at least a few times a year, we go out and offer dental care to people who would have no access at all. So that has been our story. Right now we employ about 50 people altogether, actually more than 50 people altogether. So apart from providing the professional service, we also provide opportunity for employment and spend time mentoring our employees, not just at work, but we have special meetings where we talk about life skills. I'm a Christian, so we also do have times when you have Bible studies and stuff like that. So our goal is that for the time that people are with us, the quality of their life should improve. They should live, not everyone is with us on the whole long haul, but for the time they are posted with us, we should be able to add value to their lives so that they don't live at the same kind of spiritual stature that they came in, but they can move on to do whatever else that they are called to do. So that's my story.